Welcome to the first of my watch list videos for this week. I have a couple names I'll be watching, mostly as continuation moves. First we have here LRN. Not quite ready yet, but has a clear support level after this gap down at 32.50. I'd preferably like to see it break and hold under before shorting. It's a bit of a choppy name, not a great trading name, but could see a move lower. We have CalX here, nice gap up. I'd look for this range to build out a little bit. I could have taken it today, but not really sure about market direction right now. And tomorrow we have the Fed meeting, so tomorrow might give us a little more clear direction in the market, and I'd be willing to take more trades. So yeah, want this one to build out after this nice gap up on huge volume. I traded it originally on the day it gapped up, sold everything. Didn't really want to hold anything into all the earnings coming into the market. We have MOS. I'm watching more on the weekly chart, weekly, daily chart. I mean, it's making lower highs here. It's on a sector that's kind of sold off that used to be a leader. It has this trend line that it's been following. It bounced off support here a couple times. It's overall just quite weak, making lower highs. Failing at the 200-day recently. Could definitely see this break down further. I'd probably just trade it on the weekly because I'd have a smaller size but a looser stop. I feel like you can get easily wicked out of your stop if you trade it on the daily on this name. Next, CIX broke down here, building this kind of bear flag. I'm not convinced it's a total bear flag just because the stock is still quite strong compared to the overall market. Coal was a leading sector. A couple other coal names kind of failed here. You can see BTU failed recently, although you have AMR kind of broke out of this range recently and holding up nicely. ARCH broke out of this range, holding up. So I'm not as tempted to short this. If this builds out a little further and maybe breaks out of this kind of like descending wedge, maybe I'll take it long for a retest of the upper trend line or the moving averages here. Next you have MedPace Holdings. Same concept as the other ones in terms of the gap up, going sideways. Look at it on the 15-minute. It's building this kind of range here. The tighter it gets, the more willing I'd be to take a breakout long. SIVB, one of my top watches for this week, especially if the market sees some weakness. I like how tight this is getting. It's a $200 stock in a pretty tight range here, getting tighter and tighter. I could see this breaking down either tomorrow or the day after, especially after today. It tested again this 230 level, tested again, reclaimed, trying to test the higher the top of the range here. Ideally tomorrow goes sideways a little bit, breaks down. I'll take this one short under 230. UHS, another one I really like here. Ideally wanted this to gap up into the 125 range and then have a mean reversion short, maybe capture a 10-15% move on it. It's a slower moving name, only a 3.73% ADR, but pretty weak this year. Broke down, had a tough time. It's coming into this little previous support range where it bounced off a couple times, you can see. So ideally I wanted to, maybe gap up tomorrow or the day after, go a little higher and then short it on the gap up under the lows of the day. Wing, another one that's gapped up, building out this range. Had a little breakout on Friday that I didn't take just because I wanted it to get a little tighter. And so now it's pulled back a little bit. Ideally, we get one more day of tightness before breaking out again. PI, same concept as the other gap up. It's kind of building out this range. I'm going to look for an entry on it, although it's not as obvious, but it's very strong. Huge volume gap up over a beautiful range. Traded it on the first day, but didn't want to hold it just because a lot of these big tech earnings were coming out, as well as the Fed move on Tuesday. So we'll see what happens. I'll look for an entry on it. The market's still overall quite choppy. Last week was a tough trading week, every direction. So we'll see what happens with the Federal Reserve news this week. Thanks for watching. We'll post watch lists probably every week, along with some updates if they come. Thanks.